Pictures that are coming in now from the Siri Fort auditorium. Remember, this is where the US president will be delivering his address in a short while from now. Those are the images coming in. We expect the address to be around 10:45 is what we were told. So we're just about 10 minutes away from the US president being there and delivering that address, which is really his last formal interaction and on this visit, and possibly the last time that he will come to India as a US president. So this is significant in sort of outlining his legacy, as we are calling it here in the studio. What will that legacy be? I'm going to ask my panelists what they would like to hear the US president say. Ajay, what if there was one thing that you'd like to listen to from the US president? What is it that you would like him to say today which will make you believe that yes, this president is really taking a new Indo-US relations in a new direction?
Well, I would like him to explain to the audience and explain to young India why it is important for India to move beyond its what India calls a balanced relationship, and to actually have a good, strong relationship with the United States. I would like him to explain to them why the United States offers a set of opportunities and values and so on that they should go there, benefit from, and bring back to their country, rather than this current sort of wish amongst the younger people to actually remain in the United States.
Samit, what would you like to hear the American president say?
I think he's speaking to the converted already. And I think for him, this is his moment, the feel-good moment in his visit. He basically is going to drum up all the reasons why the partnership works, why it needs to work even better, and why people, like the audience, the youth, have an important role in bridging the two divides that exist within the country and between the countries, both on economy, both on issues around climate and on strategic matters.
So is it with this kind of audience, less about strategic issues though, much more focused on the areas of convergence, a new digital world, for a younger world, for a younger India, a younger United States?
Yes, I think what we do well to focus on, I'm not sure if we will, would be the shared democratic values, which really bind us, now being combined with the power of the youth and the young generation in India. How this new generation, the IT tech-savvy generation, is an asset to America, and what asset America can give back.
That's it. The reason I'm raising this is because, Sanjay, for a long time the feeling is that there is a large part of the United States, but we call it Middle America, which still has no clue of India. And there's a large part of the US media also, which still doesn't see India perhaps in the way that we see China, the way the US will see its relationship with China, the way the US will see its relationship with its own neighborhood. We are still not top of the mind. Is that true, or can that change? Can the US president in addresses like this change that mindset at all?
Well, I think if you see the media coverage of his visit in the US, it's a reflection that there's not been a significant coverage. So I think your point is absolutely right. But I think what he could do is, US has a program with China where America sends students to India. Why don't they establish a program of sending? We always talk about Indian students going there, but USAID and State Department pay for students to go to China to learn about China. And they should do the same about learning about India. You talked about the Middle America. That's what it would make a big impact if they sent 100,000 students.
May I say something about US history?
Yes.
It's always done well. The Americans have always done best with countries they've gone to war with, starting with Great Britain, Japan, and even at a certain phase of time with China. Now with Germany. India is one of those countries which, by its inclination, is never going to be in a conflict situation with the United States, which reaches its masses. What we are doing now in the Indian community is helping. And this is very important. I saw it when I went to Vegas. Three of us were going, my son-in-law, his nephew, his cousin, myself. Three American guys coming out of a casino. Say, there they go, must be doctor, engineer.
What
were
you doing in the casino, Partha? That's the question that we've got to ask. Did you only limit yourself to the casino?
No. I enjoyed myself.
Okay,
that's called racial stereotyping, by the way.
Got it wrong. But it is right.
Dr. Punter.
Dr. Punter, yeah, that's right. Diplomat turned punter. But yes, Casey, you wanted to make a point.
But no, it's not the image of someone criminal,
Sure.
someone aggressive.
Sure.
That's us. And I think we should accept us for what we are ourselves.
Partly that has changed. Casey, just look at it. I think, what was it? From Carter in the late 70s till Clinton came in 2000, for about 20 odd years, we had no US president come to this country. And now we've had 3 successive US presidents come to India. So India at least has, in the pecking order, we've gone, if you look at it purely historically, we've gone well beyond where we were in the 70s and 80s when, in the Cold War era, we were just not on the American imagination.
We were discussing that what will they focus on.
Okay.
I think, you see, what everybody said in the world is we have a demographic dividend.
Yes.
There is a youth which can your neck, and that's why even PM here keeps talking of skill development.
Yes.
In joint statements that has figured, US has talked about setting up or working with India to develop skills in India. Now these are matchable skills. Yes. As your economy grows, you have to match the jobs to the skills. What is available. At the moment, you can't even get a properly trained plumber or properly trained electrician. Even your engineering graduates, you ask any top information technology firm in India, they'll only take the top 10%. The other 90% are unemployable, even after getting engineering degrees. Many of them have in-house training. So, there's a huge skill gap. Everybody wants a BA degree, and you're unemployable. There's an industrialist who told me a fascinating story of his old munim telling him, sir, give my son a job. So he says, I looked at his degree. He had got a Hindi medium degree from somewhere. And he said, I told him, application likho bache. Wo kehta, "Mujhe to aati nahi mere ko Angrezi. I cannot write in English."
Actually, in a sense,
so just listen. He says, I told him, I will send him to the industry, to my factory on the shop floor and let him work his way up. He says, my munim told him no, but he wants to be in an office. You see, you have to break this thing. Indians don't want to work with their hands.
No, but along
Sheer
with that,
dignity
along
of
with
labor.
that, since we are looking at it, therefore, and the point was made, I think, by President Obama at one of his interactions, skill development is going to be critical.
No, even
if
PM
we
keeps
are to
repeating
become
it.
the kind of economy growing at 8-10% that the Prime Minister claims we have, you cannot do it without skill development. That's why the Americans come in. Surely the Americans can focus on that.
Well, in America, that's a challenge too. He just announced a free community college for students in his State of the Union. So maybe they can do something together here.
I think that's an excellent suggestion. I think community college schemes of the US is something that India needs to build on.
But the fact is, Samir, we are struggling. Whenever you know what's happened with the private universities.
I go along with Casey.
The fact is, where are the private universities?
Industrial training institutes, they are a washout.
No, but let's be clear. If tomorrow the Americans wanted to come and invest there, they would be we've seen in the past, parliamentary resistance. The left has resisted the idea of America bringing in its education system.
We have a Congress bill that was never really.
That's right. It's still there.
It's still there. No, it's expired now because
you'll have to have a fresh bill of private universities.
We don't have one Indian university which is within the top 100 or 200 in the world.
Yes.
The level of
IITs come in. One of the, I think Kharagpur came in.
Not in 100, not now. No longer. No longer within the top 100 do we have a single university.
And the Chinese have many now.
No, so what happens? No, so that's I just want to push that point. So, at the end of the day, what happened therefore? If I can afford it, or if I can get a scholarship, I can go to the top American universities. But that reverse process of bringing them to India to set up community colleges or to set up skill development institutes has been over the years resisted. As Samir is right, the private universities bill languished in the previous UPA government, never saw the light of day. We don't know whether Mr. Modi will be able to push it given the nature of the
Despite the fact that Dr. Manmohan Singh wanted it.
Exactly. So there was resistance within the Congress party at the time. So my question is, we can talk all we want about skill development. We can talk about this education exchange, but it cannot simply be about Indian students going to American university, because that's a fraction of what we really need to build them to. Your Munim's son is not going to benefit unless there is a community college.
Now there is something called a Lewis point.
Yes.
Lewis point is when you are no longer able to bring cheap labor into the economy. The Chinese touched the Lewis point this year, which means they are no longer able to bring cheap labor into their economy, which means they can't keep up.
Cost of labor goes up from here on.
Whereas in India, you can bring cheap labor, but it has to be trained labor. It can't be unskilled labor.
So I think two quick points. I think one is the last mile education, and when I say last mile, it is what Ambassador was talking about. How do you make it into a finished product from university to employability? That's the last mile education. The second is, how does the digital medium? See, let me tell you two statistics. One, we already have 100 million Indians can't read or write but have become productive using mobile phones. 100 million keypad literates.
Yes.
By 2020, we will have more Indians who are digitally connected than those who would have cleared primary school. Now that's another new workforce that you have, where you will have to de-link traditional education from productivity. Can the American model?
I think that's fascinating. What you're saying is absolutely right, and I think somewhere we expect beyond the speeches at town hall, all this has to result in concrete action on the ground. I think that is the challenge, and that is the fear that we've often had.
Attention to one thing. We were resistant to anything American.
Yes.
Yet our green revolution
was fueled by them.
Was fueled by if you are agriculturally self-sufficient today, it was fueled by what C. Subramaniam in the 1960s brought in from America and was condemned for being a rightist.
The fuel our digital revolution?
Correct.
That's the question.
The digital, how are you going to make use of the digital age in India?
Okay, let me take a break as we see the US security there outside suggesting that the US president should arrive in a short while from now. We expected that speech to be around 10:45. We are told that the US president was in conversation with Kailash Satyarthi. Expect him to speak. I'll come to you, Casey, in a moment. Let's take a break because then we'll find it very difficult once the president starts speaking to take any breaks. So let's take that short break and come back with it.
Genetic.
No, not only finance by state.
Welcome back. We are focusing on the big Obama speech and focusing on a critical area. Since we believe that the US president will address a younger India, we are looking at where is the space for partnership on education. Let's cut through all the rhetoric, all the strategic speak. Isn't that really where we want the two countries to come together? And Ajay Shukla in the break was making an interesting point about the German example, where the apprentice system exists, where people are trained to be welders and other professions, and you believe that's where the India-US partnership could go. US could provide us some of those skill development programs of theirs, community colleges, which could then really build a more lasting and a more productive relationship from an Indian perspective.
Well,
value-based education.
See, the Germans discovered that high-quality products require the amalgamation of a large number of high-quality trades.
Right.
And within those trades, you have a regulated system of gradations, of skill development, of apprenticeship, and then you reach that master welder or master fitter or master turner or whatever it is.
You were making a good point. You were saying that the nature of education, it shouldn't be volume education.
It should not be.
It cannot be elite education. Just simply going to a Harvard or Stanford or MIT. You say value education.
Value education.
Except that try and just expand on that. What do you believe that President Obama and Prime Minister can do, given that there is legislative resistance to the very idea of US-based private universities coming to India?
So let me just take off from where Ajay left. You take the apprentice system, for example. If suppose this is where we want to partner, let's take Prime Minister Modi's statement that the world needs nurses. India is not producing enough nurses to meet the demand. So why don't we create apprentice programs where from the secondary school onwards we are training high quality nurses which feed into the American requirement as well as feed into the Indian requirement.
So now the problem is that our nurses, mostly from Kerala,
are in demand.
No, they are either in US, Canada or across the Gulf.
But you have to create opportunities. You see, the problem is you've got to create opportunities domestically. Now, how is that?
We also have to get the corporates involved in this.
Similarly,
no, I take all this, but the thing is, we are in our democratic system. All this is going to have to go through some legislative hurdle. We've seen what happens in Parliament. The private universities bill, as was pointed out, was resisted by the Congress section of the Congress party. The left resisted.
So why don't we see ordinance in this? This is the good place to do an ordinance. Education by the bullhorns. Let's put that as an ordinance. Let's
sit down with the opposition, develop a consensus.
Agreed. I agree.
And why would it not be developed on this? Develop a consensus.
You were pointing out, Casey, that in 2009,
joint statement.
The joint statement speaks about education and empowerment. And sometimes I worry the more things change, the more they are the same.
Exactly.
We are in 2015, these words will again be used.
No, so Prime Minister Modi needs to sit down with Prime Minister Manmohan Singh, leaders of the Congress, and say, hey guys, you did all this, you said all this. Instead of creating friction and going down the ordinance route which sends the heckles of the opposition up, I think Prime Minister Modi has to realize a majority is not a veto on the opposition. A majority is the beginning of a dialogue with opposition. You must generate consensus. And that is the way to move.
There is, you see, the word education contains within itself our basic attitudinal problem. We want education in the sense of BA, MA, MTech degrees.
Which are useless degrees.
What we need is skills.
No, but I'm just wondering, Ajay, whether all this is one-sided. Let's look at Smart City, for example. The US president has said that there will be 3 pilot projects, Visakhapatnam, Ajmer and Allahabad. 3 pilot projects. Now, the feeling is that this smart city project will only be used for a few US companies, let's say, to come to India, perhaps benefit from it. We talk of defense co-production. Again, the suggestion will be it'll be to the benefit of the Americans, may not necessarily be to the benefit of India to the extent our Make in India project that the Prime Minister wants. So I'm just wondering, as we see pictures of Kailash Satyarthi there in the audience, the Nobel Peace Prize winner this year and child rights activist who's come to listen to the US President, has become a bit of an icon in a sense for younger India himself. But, the point is this all one-sided? While education, in a genuine sense, can become can be a genuine partnership that India could have with the United States, and that's what we perhaps want, and that's what could really make in India will only be made when education is taken, skill development, really to be more specific, is taken to another level.
Absolutely, but we don't want to tackle with these messy problems. We want to bypass all our messy cities and go to this smart city.
Yeah, that's true.
We want to bypass the Indian railways and go to a bullet train railway line. Make the Indian railways work first before going to a bullet train line.
Let me just reframe this smart city thing. Now, if the smart cities had a strong component of creating skilled facilities for creating skills, facilities, investing in facilities that create skills, that would be a smart city. If we had a smart city that would be used to develop some of the more grassroots capabilities that India needs to for its own economy, that would be a smart city. Smart city need not be in high tech. I think we are defining smart city to mean as this huge technology transfer center. It's not. Smart cities are where we create people for countries' current context.
No, I take the point, but I'm just wondering whether this whole education game, because that is a game changer. Skill development is going to be the big game changer for a Make in India through digital technology.
So 500 million Indians over the next 2.5 decades at any given point of time will need some sort of skilling, education, technical.
Dignity of labor. The main thing is,
without having the skilled workforce to
one is that. The second is dignity of labor.
Make in India.
Dignity of labor. Most people want a white collar job. You want a clerical job, ideally in the government. Ideally in the government. Either it's passed, inherited from the caste system. Certain, you don't want to do things with your hands. You think it's somebody else who should do it. You have to bring dignity, but then maybe the returns have to go up. Maybe people have to see that they are able to get an assured job, and it is a skill. They are not semi-skilled.
I take your point. Let me take a break, because I think we've set the agenda for the US President and the Prime Minister in the studio. I wish we perhaps should have done it a few days ago. But look, better late than never. And we do hope that this is the direction in which the Indo-US relationship will go, that we can really use America and Indian